You're watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Here's your host, Don Ansell.
For this second half of our Byline Wilmington 1 hour special election 2010, Congressman Mac McIntyre, 14-year incumbent for the 7th District U.S. House, is our guest. Mike, there's a lot of congressmen. There's a lot of negative political ads on both sides of this race. People say they don't like them, but research shows they work. What are your comments on that?
No, I agree. I don't like them either, and I've traditionally not run them. The problem right now is we're being outspent about 3-1 because there's a lot of outside influences. I've traditionally raised 95% of our individual contributions in our campaign have come from right here at home in North Carolina. My opponent has a majority of his contributions coming from out of state, which says volumes. There are outside influences on this race. We're being outspent 3-1. Where's the money coming from? It's not coming from here. The majority of it's coming from out of state. That's alarming to a lot of people. And I think, clearly what's happened is that I have been blessed through the time I've served in Washington with Republican and Democratic and independent support. So what they're left with is trying to paint a picture of somebody that I'm not. They're distorting my record because they're trying to pull me down from the service we've done. And I've been endorsed by some very pro-business, pro-family, pro-defense, pro-veterans groups who know the real record and know that those are distortions. And it's unfortunate to have those kind of negative ads intentionally distorting your record.
And your opponent and the people that support your opponent are linking you to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
Incorrectly.
And you have distanced yourself from that.
Right.
Do you support Pelosi as Speaker of the House?
Well, let me answer that. Let me tell you something. I have worked. I'm very, very clear that I don't vote based on what the Speaker tells me to do. And the Speaker and others in leadership have tried to ask me to vote for certain bills, and I have said no. I said no to the health care bill, no to the energy tax bill, no to raising the debt ceiling twice. And there are several other bills that I have had strong concerns about that I have.
Do you pay a price for that?
So actually, they have a healthy respect. They know when I say no, I mean it. I voted against all the bank bailouts and the auto bailout. So I don't walk lockstep with her. The figure they've used is entirely wrong. In fact, there was a TV station in Virginia recently that pulled down a similar ad that was being run against another person serving in Congress, because what they've done is they've taken procedural votes. For every one vote on substance, there's a procedural vote about when votes will come to the floor, how long will the debate time be, will there be any amendments, will they be recommitted to committee, or it's called a motion to recommit if the vote happens to fail. You have to do that on every vote. They're taking all these procedural votes and then adding it to the substantive vote, and they're getting an inflated, skewed figure by saying 90%. If you go to nationaljournal.com that does an independent analysis, it's not run by either party, every year of votes, including the one this past year, nationaljournal.com.
It'll give you a true record of
it will, and I'm once again down the middle, as I've always been. I've always had a voting record down the middle because I work with people on both sides, and I vote based on what the issue is. And actually, some of the most conservative organizations in America have endorsed me because they see through that distortion and that false statement about 90%. I was going to say National Right to Life, the NRA, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the Veterans of Foreign Wars PAC, they have all endorsed me. They know that 90% figure is totally wrong and it's being intentionally used to mislead what my real record is. And these groups examine the record. They don't just listen to rhetoric. They examine the record.
Let's move on to appropriations, or what some call pork, or money gotten by House members to bring back to their districts for projects and other kinds of support. You've been very successful at bringing federal dollars to the region. And conservatives say that it's a spending issue now that needs to be reined in. How do you respond to that?
Well, let me say, first of all, I've always supported having a balanced budget. In fact, I've been a co-sponsor of a balanced budget amendment. I don't think government should spend more money than it takes in, and for those agencies and departments that are not being held accountable and where we have waste, fraud, and abuse, where we need more transparency, there's a 14-point plan that the Blue Dog Coalition that I'm part of has for fiscal responsibility to bring government spending under control and to pay down the national debt. And I've always been there on that and continue to support that.
But you're in favor of these types of appropriations?
When you do have appropriations, it's not the pork barrel, these are merited projects like the fire departments in our area. If they're going to be able to respond, and we have a wonderful port here at Wilmington that we've long fought to help. We have a nuclear plant here. We have great opportunities at the coast. When those fire departments, if there's an emergency that have to respond on some of our rural roads and highways or our interstates, it's going to be the local fire department or rescue squad or law enforcement. And in a lot of our rural counties, they simply don't have the resources to deal with a major chemical spill or with the tremendous growth in housing to be able to deal with the added responsibility for businesses and homes if there are fires. I know my opponent has panned my working to help local fire departments get the equipment they need and the trucks they need and the help they need. Well, my goodness, they're protecting all of us. And you know what? It helps insurance rates go down, and it helps foster a positive business atmosphere.
How about appropriations that are tacked onto bills that have nothing to do with that money?
That's outrageous, like the bridge to nowhere that was discussed. Yeah, that stuff's outrageous.
Should they
what we have done, and people have misunderstood this, and I appreciate you letting me get a chance to explain this, whether it's a fire department that has to apply for and merit getting that fire truck, not everybody that applies gets one, they have to merit it, or whether it's something like our beaches, that I have fought year after year for beach renourishment and for dredging of our inlet and dredging of the Intracoastal Waterway, which had been zeroed out by the executive branch in the past. Those are a fight making sure that we're getting a return on our tax dollars. Those aren't pork projects. That's like maintaining I-40 or I-95. You got to maintain the Intracoastal Waterway. Well, when the administration in the past decided to zero it out, I formed a caucus of Democrats, Republicans, to say, let's fight this and make sure we can dredge the Intracoastal Waterway, that we can dredge our inlets, that we can renourish our beaches. So it's not a matter of pork, it's a matter of deciding, are we going to make sure that our region is given the proper attention and that our tax dollars are working for us. But that's been misconstrued by my opponent. I have long favored a balanced budget and long favored paying down the national debt, and I have been a fiscal hawk.
We'll take another break. When we come back, we'll ask the Congressman what kind of job he thinks the president's doing. Stay with us.